22nd, 1992. It's Mr. Jim Agnew and Mr. Bill Agnew. Yeah, you're right. Bill Agnew and Frank Straub and Helen Mulvale. And we're just going to keep asking questions here and talking. Lakefront Hotel. Okay, anyone can talk. I'm looking for Lucy McKettrick Brown. I'm going ahead, but if you heard anything when you were growing up, she owns the hotel from about 1885. She's still in the hotel at 1909. And she becomes Brown.
Well,
Anything.
I knew the Brown. I guess that's the one she married, right?
I have no idea.
I knew him very well. In fact, he rented our greenhouse in back of our place for a number of years.
What's his name, Bill?
We said Tom Brown. Did you say Tom Brown?
No, I don't know his Tom. I know his daughter and son, Steele Brown and Marcita. I know them. And they went from here to Patchogue, and they opened a delicatessen on South Ocean Avenue. They were there for years.
Was she related to Paula Brown?
No, I don't think anything relationship at
That's
all.
what we're looking for, because Paula Brown owns the Lakefront Hotel in the 30s.
Yeah, that was later on.
Okay.
Right.
Paula Brown has the hotel. Is Jack Brown related to any of these Browns?
No, not to my knowledge, no.
So we're just hitting Browns. Brown rented from Paula Brown.
Who, Jack Brown?
Jack Brown rents from Paula Brown because she owns the building.
That's probably right.
But she's not related to Jack Brown.
No.
So we're hitting Browns not related.
This lady you're talking about, that could have
Lucy
been
McKettrick.
Mr. Brown's wife. Now, I don't know her because
Neither did I, Bill.
when I knew him, and that's a long time ago, I'm going back to 1920 or so, she was not there. He was living, his grandmother, or the mother was living with him, and she was taking care of the two kids, Marcita and Steele. They lived in the house right back of our store.
This is her sister calling home.
Right. Good. You're going back in the last century, Frank. I'm going way before that.
Hutchins.
I was telling about the dentist. My first dentist was up in Center Reach as a kid.
Yeah.
And there was no dentist around here. And he had a foot drill. He pumped it with his foot like this. You can imagine the speed he got with it. But he did a good job. He put 2 gold caps on. I bet I had him for 25 years.
Is that right?
Now, where'd we end off? Or where'd we begin?
Well, we were still talking about Lucy McKettrick.
Oh, Lakefront Hotel.
Lakefront
you was
Hotel.
talking about, yeah. And with Paula Brown and Jack Brown.
Now, it was all Lakefront Hotel burned down in pieces, or burned down like the whole
I think it
complex?
burned down the whole thing. Yeah.
The whole complex?
Yeah.
Where was that again? Was that near Mayfair and Olympia and?
Well, in that area.
Yeah, well, you know what Jack Brown was?
Yeah.
Well,
That's part of it.
the next
next
road
one-
in between, the next plot of ground was.
When you looked at it at the right, because Rick
It'd be
was on the
kind of
left.
south, I guess you call it
okay.
south of Jack Brown's.
Right. Okay. Do you remember when Jack Brown got there?
Yeah.
What year would you say?
Well, hey, you asked me years. I can't remember the years, guy. Yeah, he was there a long time. Prohibition, anyhow, but I don't remember
Prohibition.
the year.
That's
Oh,
right. Yeah.
We
And
used to
then,
deliver groceries to him on the weekend, I'm telling you.
who else do you remember there after him?
Jack Brown?
Yeah. Who was the next one that took over? Was it Marie? You know, remember Marie having that place?
Marie, what's her name?
Yeah, you'd have to tell me.
I don't remember Marie, I don't
You
think.
don't remember Marie?
I don't think so.
I'll have to ask Charlie Benjamin with that one, yeah.
I may know, it may come to me. I don't seem to recall her.
Lovell, you remember Lovell?
Betsy Lovell, or do I? No. I went to school with you know, it wasn't a daughter, but a girl that she lived with her, you know.
Did you
Catherine Diedrich. You remember her?
Diedrich?
Catherine Diedrich.
No, I don't.
Very nice girl.
Just,
She dropped in here about 15 years ago. She's lived in Florida.
yeah.
And she dropped in to say hello to Jimmy and I. I hadn't seen her in years and years. But she was a nice kid.
That ain't nothing to, no, that was Skeetrick,
No,
right?
no, she
And
had no
Pecos.
relationship. I don't know where she came from originally.
Well, that was Skeetrick anyhow,
Yeah.
right? At Pecos.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Who was he related to? Dietrich.
Well, he was married to one of the Beckers. His wife was a Becker.
Rebecca?
Yeah.
Okay. Ziggy.
Yeah.
Just start talking on about when you know him or how he came
Well,
out
he
here.
first came to town, and he lived at Silver Birches. Apparently I guess he came from a home. I'm pretty sure he came from a home, you know. And he came there to work. And he did work there for, I don't know, a few years, I guess. Till he started branching out and got wise to himself and, you know, on his own then.
He was the only colored one, too, in town. Is that correct?
Right.
Would you say? In town.
He was the only one in those days, yeah.
Right, in those days they were like that.
He would have come in the 20s? I would say 20s.
I would say maybe 25, between 20 and 25 in there.
1920,
Yeah.
25.
Because he's about my age. Because I, you know.
Zicky's about your
Oh, yeah,
age.
he's about my age at
That's
the time,
right,
I remember.
yeah. And
I
he
used
did
to
it. He worked at a lot of jobs.
Oh.
A lot of jobs. He polished cars there like that. And
The only bad part, he didn't keep himself very clean. That's
No, he
the
didn't
only
do
thing
that,
people
that's
did.
right.
Friendliest guy in the world.
Friendliest
Pretty
guy.
honest, I guess, for all I know.
Right.
He just didn't want to.
And smart. I mean, he was smart
Oh.
with different things.
Oh,
I mean, he
he's
could remember. And
Brilliant, brilliant.
Well, he was street smart.
Yeah.
He didn't
could
have
tell you
book
all the-
learning. He didn't have book learning because he was...
No, street smart. That's what
But
I
he
said.
read the papers. He knew everything was going on.
He knew everything that was
Yeah.
going on. He read the papers, is right, just like Bill says here, like that. And you could ask him anything with sports, and he knew
He knew
sports.
it.
He knew sports, yeah.
Yeah.
Like that.
You
And
know,
he
when I used to
try-
bowl, Frank, he could tell me my score any time during the game.
Listen to this, careful.
Now, there's
there,
10 men on the
Howard.
team. He could tell me my score any time during the game. That's a kind of a memory he had. It must have went in there and stayed there.
He took care of, there's 2 hours. Sometimes did he take care of 4 hours, or did he take
4
care of
alleys.
just...
He took 4 alleys. Didn't he take care of
Well,
all
at
4?
times, yeah. He
At
couldn't
the
Well,
get
the
certain-
Lighthouse. Lighthouse had
At certain
4 alleys.
times. Well, Becker's
Becker,
too.
I'm talking about
Oh,
Becker
Becker's,
mostly. Yeah.
Becker.
Yeah. And he'd tell you the score, not Bill, not just Bill's. Everyone on the team there, he'd tell the score.
Great guy that way.
He was absolutely outstanding. Jesus, what did he call me one day there? Change of pace. I ran up to the alley there, you know, as you go, letting the ball down there, and I just left it go nice and change of pace, he called me. Oh, I just left it go down there nice and and the ball hardly got down to him, you know, because he's ready to set up pins all the time.
Yeah.
He's waiting for this ball to come down.
Well, I guess he slept under every porch in
Lake Ronkonkoma.
sometime or other, I guess. He never had a home, but he slept in
No.
sleeps.
Well, he said he slept
Sleeces,
he slept in
Tuscan.
Hotel Pontiac or Hotel Lincoln or Hotel Chevrolet. And that's when he lived at Rummel's Garage in the used car lot.
Right.
He stayed up at Fleeces for a long time. The
Fleeces?
barn up there, too.
Tuscan Road down in the basement
Oh,
there.
yes.
He was down there like that, right?
He spent time at Eberhardt's garage.
Over in Everhard, say that might have been later on there like that. But like in the 30s, say he was in Gay Road, Salice's there like that, right?
Well,
Mostly
was
it's
his,
Salice's,
what's
I
his
think.
idea? Was his job really sort of people took care of him because he would keep an eye on their bungalows?
Well, I don't know about
That was the idea. Was he would keep an eye on their bungalows?
Well, he could have been doing that, but most of the work I remember, he was way back was car polishing.
Was car polishing,
Salmonizing.
Salmonize a car
yeah.
there like that.
Yeah, he made it an all-day job so he'd get 3 meals along with the Simonize job, you know.
He's right, Bill is right there like that.
Okay.
He used to salmonize a car up in, across the street from us. There were summer people, barnacles there, I don't know if you remember that.
Where are they? Barnacles
on-
where?
By Sachem
By
High
Sachem
School.
High School?
Yeah.
North or south?
It's
North?
north of Sachem High School. The next block would be over there. And they'd come out in the summertime, just like Bill say, and make an all-day job out of it. Did get 3 meals there, like. And it was what, maybe $7 or $6?
It wasn't too much. Those days it sounded like a lot, but I guess it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, it was like a 37 Chrysler this woman had there, like that. And it polish it maybe every month or so, or every 3 weeks.
He also entered the amateur contests over in Patcho Cato a number of times. I guess he won a few times, too.
Oh, right.
Fairly good singer.
Very good. He used to
He
sing.
thought he was a
in the club.
dancer. He tried to dance, but, you know, he was so clumsy. But he did pretty good considering his problems, you know.
used to
I'd
sing
put him
down
on
at
this.
Club
I'd put
Claire.
him on the same category, or not really. I shouldn't, but he looked a little like would be Nat King Cole. Does it fit into that category? He was a
You
tall,
mean look-
lanky
you're talking
guy.
about look-wise?
Well, look-wise, he was a tall, lanky guy.
Well, I think he wasn't too tall, really. He wasn't real tall. King Cole was a pretty tall guy.
How tall would you say Ziggy was, Bill?
Huh?
How tall would you say he was?
Well, he wasn't as
6
tall as
foot?
I am, I don't think.
6 foot?
Well, I'm less than 6 foot, and he wasn't as tall as I am.
I
Yeah,
thought-
I
No, he
think-
couldn't,
I
he
thought
couldn't
he
been over
was
5'8" or 9", I don't think.
Oh, he's no, he's
taller than that.
taller than that, Bill. Sure.
Think so?
Yeah, he's 5'11", close to 6 foot. I think.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Tall, lanky guy.
He might
Good
have
voice. He sang.
sang.
I heard he sang Club Claire.
Club Clarice
Yeah.
used
He
to
sang
sing
pretty
that.
good.
He
Used
sang.
to sing around all these speeches. I mean, if they'd have anything going
Jack
on,
Brown would invite him. You think?
he sang at our place there when we had dances with the Lake Ronkonkoma Cardinals. We'd have a dance
Where?
maybe
Jack
at
Brown.
Green Pavilion,
Green Pavilion.
or not Jack Brown, or Yerkes Pavilion. Where else? The De Janeiro's we had dances there. Hollywood Pavilion.
Would you have had dances over there before De Janeiro's when it was?
What was Becca's?
Becker's?
No, it would be De Janeiro's. Becca's got out at what time would you say? Yeah,
Well, De Janeiro's bought it in '53.
in 53?
52. So into the
Yeah, we
40s.
played there in the 40s.
Beckers
yeah, but we didn't have
wouldn't.
any
Beckers
dances.
wouldn't have put dances and parties in their
Oh, we
place.
had it. Yeah, they had. I
Not
guess,
too
but
much, not to extent. They did have, but not to extent.
Yeah, not
They didn't
like the
promote
other
it that much, I don't think, like some of the other places did.
Mhm.
But that was about the only large place you could get in those days, so I guess anything was going on.
Becca's?
Yeah, in a way back, there was not too many big halls.
No,
you know.
there wasn't.
There
Right.
was the fire hall in those days.
Right.
They used to rent that out a lot, for various things,
Where,
functions.
here, Bill?
No, the old firehouse where the florist is down there on Hawkins Avenue. The old firehouse.
Right here, you mean?
Yeah, right here.
Right next to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that.
Colonial Florist.
Yeah. And Betsy Level, when we played basketball, as young kids, we used to go with our nickel to get a bottle of soda over to Betsy Level, the speakeasy, right next door.
Okay. Anything more on Ziggy? Well liked.
Yes, I think
Never
everybody
heard-
liked him.
never heard a bad word about the
No,
man.
everybody liked him.
Did a lot of
Well, like-
walking,
A lot of walking.
right?
He went into New York. I remember him going into
Oh,
New
yeah,
York
job in
during
New York.
Christmas. During
Didn't he, Bill?
Christmas
Do you
time.
remember about the
He
job?
told me he
Well,
used to go down and
Christmas
sing
time
for
he
somebody.
would
I don't know,
sing.
records or
Christmas
something.
time he worked in a record store.
Oh, that's it. That's what it was.
Especially
the
record time from now, Thanksgiving until Christmas. He was always in New York, or at least during the weekends, to sell records.
Yeah, I
I
remember
remember him always buying newspapers, Sunday newspapers, to go in to the city to sell newspapers.
You go in there on the
Never
train,
met
too.
on the train.
Yeah.
On the train. Black as the ace of spades.
Yeah, he was dog, right?
He was well known because he knew my grandmother from the Hungarian Hall. He said he learned Hungarian. So he knew my grandmother from the
Well,
hall.
this is why we say, that he was smart. He picked up a lot of stuff there like that. With a different language, he picked that up there.
Right.
He didn't pick this up when he was a kid, I don't think, when he's 7, 8, 9, or 10 years
no,
old.
no.
Like, they picked it up as
No, he came out of a home, he didn't know very much anything when he came out here. He was not very wise, but he learned fast when he got out here.
That's right. And he paid attention, just
Yeah.
like he did with that bow in there, with no one
Oh,
was
I had,
there.
my only one little story was that other black Americans would turn around to him and say, well, tell me about your town. Tell me about your town. And the story was Ziggy would say, you wouldn't like it. You wouldn't like it, find something else. And for that reason, Ronkonkoma never had a black community.
Yeah.
That this was his little territory, and in his heyday, he was not going to let anyone in. Really, this
Well,
was
it wasn't
his...
an area where colored people would normally settle in those days. They like to be around places like the waterfront.
Well, we're
things like that.
waterfront.
Yeah, but I'm talking about saltwater, where the boats, a lot of boat activity and so on.
Right.
So actually, we
But you
never
have-
had them around
Yeah,
here
but
for
you
a
have
long, long
activity
time.
for Brentwood.
Huh?
There's a big settlement in Brentwood. There's a big settlement out there in Coram.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
not here.
Well,
This
it's like
time
out,
later on, yeah.
out at Gordon Heights, too. They get in there in the settlement, but you see, they never got started here at all.
Never got
Never
started like
here.
that.
Yeah,
Even now,
really?
I don't think there's too many
No,
here.
there isn't too many here, and there's not too many in Overbrook there like that.
Okay, Ziggy. All I know is that Ziggy had ended up at the
Nursing home.
nursing home up there in
St.
Same
James.
shame.
St. James Nursing Home. Mr. Eberhard had promised him that he would be laid out in Lake Ronkonkoma,
Right.
and so that through the fire phones to the bars and to the fire department, they notified everyone that Ziggy had passed away. He was laid out in Maloney's, and in a matter of 2 hours that he was laid out, over 300 people came.
Is that right? Yeah.
300 people. And I'm sure that another 300, had they known, would have
Would have been
come.
there, yeah. Well, I went over to a number of times over in St. James, you
My
know.
sister used to go over there. Lucille, she used to go over there regularly.
I used to go with Gus Stegeman
Stegeman?
and Jimmy once in a while.
Right.
And we took them over, I guess, cigarettes, candy, cookies,
Right.
whatever.
Well, that's
you know.
nice, Bill.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, that you think of him there like that. What year would you say he died there? In 80 or 81 or 79?
Oh, later than that, wasn't
It's
it?
later than that.
Yeah, wasn't too long ago, really.
I'm going to say it's an election time with Mr. Maloney. It's October before election, and Mr. Maloney was coming up for elections. So it's possible 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Nothing much more.
I mean, that he died?
Ziggy died.
Absolutely, he died longer than
No,
that.
it's not. It's
Huh?
not.
It's not.
Guaranteed.
I don't know if it's 5 years, but it isn't too long ago, Frank,
No,
really,
it's
because I was
about
over to
5
visit
years.
them, and, well, it wasn't 5 years ago, but it wasn't a long time ago either. We used to go over
Gee.
about twice a year.
My sister died in 1982, Bill. 1982, that's 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Well,
And she used to go over and visit him.
well, that's all right. So
Well,
he died
he was
after
over
your
there quite a
sister.
while. That
Oh,
could
he
be,
was there a long
Frank.
time.
He wasn't over there for a year or two. He was over there a
He
number
was
of
there
years.
a long time.
So that's maybe the
Would you
reason.
say he's there 8 years, 7 years?
Yeah.
10
Probably
years?
so.
Oh, yeah.
Probably so.
Well, if he's there,
He
then
became
I
a
mean,
forgotten person. He really was. People would talk about him, but you know, he was just a person that we just sort of let go.
Well, he told me he didn't like it over there, but he
You
said,
know what his-
you know, this is the place they've signed him, and he didn't have any money to put himself any other place. So
you know what
that's
his
where it
name was?
Not real name.
Bill Owen.
Bill
Right?
Owens.
What's that?
Bill,
Bill
Owen.
Owen?
You know what his real name was?
His real name.
Was Bill Owen, right?
Yeah,
Bill Owen.
Owens, right. Yeah.
Okay. Next topic. Jack Brown.
Bill knows mostly about that. I know
Jack
about
Brown.
it. I mean,
Well, did he grow up in Ronkonkoma?
No.
He just
He
happened
came in
to show
after
up.
the war. I guess it was after the war, wasn't he? Came in?
World
oh,
War
I don't
One?
think, no, he's
Before
in
that?
the 30s, Bill.
Yeah, okay. He came in before then, and I don't know where he came from. Just all of a sudden he started this place, Speakeasy Days, and it boomed. Everybody knew Jack Brown no matter a few
Well,
weeks.
see, that's what he must have come around like in the 31, 32
Yeah.
area then, like that. You know?
And he was very famous for his meals. He gave good meals. In those days, you know, he got, I don't know what he got for steak, I can't remember, but it was high priced in comparison to other places.
Of other
But he
places.
gave you a steak, you know,
Right.
he really gave you quality.
Top-notch stuff he had.
And his wife did most of the cooking, and she was an excellent cook
Right.
herself. And we used to deliver groceries down to him, and geez, we'd have, in those days, $150, $200 worth of groceries, which, you know, was a lot of groceries in those days, you know. Every
And
Saturday.
that every week?
Well, generally on a Friday we'd go down for the weekend. And then, of course, they'd come up, they had Marty. Remember Marty?
That sounds familiar, Bill.
Well, he used to shop for them. I guess he related somehow, I guess. He used to do shopping in between for them. We call him Marty Brown. Now, whether he was a Brown, I don't know, but that's what we called him.
Right.
Okay. That's the only thing we know about Jack Brown.
That's,
He leaves. He leaves after a short time, moves to Florida.
Okay, that's by Howard's, too,
Right,
right?
right.
Howard's Pavilion or
No, well-
beach was right down below.
Well, House had a beach.
Yeah, Howard's Beach, they were low.
House, I know he had his place up above there, but he had a
No,
pavilion.
yeah.
he
beach,
had
the
a
thing is
beach there,
still-
too.
Still there, the bookstore
Not-
is there.
In fact, one of the sons sold hot dogs there for a number of years with a little wagon.
Right.
Not, I don't know if he's doing it now,
Henry.
anymore in the summertime.
Who, Henry?
Henry, yeah.
He
Well,
went
Henry
to
went
Florida
to
or
Florida.
something. And he,
He's-
Yeah, well, he's
right
from up in
past it.
Florida here.
Right.
And he sold
Right.
hot dogs in this little wagon for
That's
a long
right.
time.
Absolutely right.
And right there is where they had their little, it wasn't a big place, that's
Well,
where they,
yeah, it wasn't a big place, but it
Small
was there a
place.
long time, and,
Yeah.
and it's still there. I mean, the bookstore there,
Yeah,
as you go
that's right.
down there,
That's
over
correct.
there, right?
correct, yeah.
And that was across the street from Brown's, Jack Brown's, on the lake.
Okay. Green Pavilion. Somehow I don't hit Green Pavilion. No. They belong back in the,
Green Pavilion.
we're asking Green Pavilion because somehow I have a feeling that Green Pavilion is very private.
It's in between.
Everybody talks about Hollywood Beach. Everybody talks about Rayners Beach, but I never get anyone to really tell me they went to Green
Well, in
Pavilion.
between the two.
Right.
In between Rainers and Rugen's and
Okay,
Hollywood.
Rayners, Rugen's, Hollywood.
Right.
But I don't have anyone that says that that was
We
their
held
beach.
dances there. Like
It was pretty popular one time.
Green Pavilion?
And they also had a beauty contest down there.
Okay.
Back
But
in,
I don't find I don't find the masses going to Green Pavilion.
oh, maybe it wasn't the...
I don't even know who operated that, really. Do you know,
Who
Frank?
owns Green?
It's Greenfield, was it?
I don't know.
I think it was Greenfield.
I don't know.
That was the name of it.
Quite a big place. It was quite a
Yeah.
big pavilion.
Well,
It looked
think of it.
elegant. I mean, it seems to have, from a picture I've seen, it had a canopy over it, a canopy rather than a shelf. But Green Pavilion, I don't find the masses going to. I mean, anyone I talk to, they've gone to Rainers, they've gone to Hollywood. I don't hear Rugen. I don't hear Rugen's, and
Well,
I
Rogan
don't
was only
hear.
a small place, and he...
Well, yeah, that
Well,
was,
he's a small piece, and I don't hear Greens at all.
Yeah. Rogan's, I can understand that you wouldn't hear too much because he only had a small piece there like
Yeah,
that, you know?
he
He had
didn't
markets.
cater. He didn't cater to people who went to the beach very much. He was primarily a tavern,
That's right, right.
you know. And before, did you have the history before that? Rugen,
Oh,
Hoyt
yes.
had that before. Do you know about that?
Boyd had it.
Hoyt.
Well, he's the original person. He
Right.
buys it. He buys the land from Sir John Poulsen in 1906 from London, England. Mr. Poulsen did not come back to sell him the land. He sells that piece and the Henkel house at the same time. Those deeds are coming from London, England. His wife had died, Margaret, and he was not coming back.
Well, you talking about Henkel down on Smith's Road?
Yes. That was owned by this gentleman by the name of Sir John Poulsen. And he owns the land at least since 1872 until it sold in 1906. And I find Mr. Poulsen is still, he's been here, so it would be before your time, because he owns the land like to the west of today Hollywood Beach. He owns the land west of Hollywood. He goes from the waterfront with an estate to Roseville, and then the land would even go south of Roseville. He owns that piece. He also did own, way back, the Halleck property. The
Fritz Green Halleck?
Fritz Halleck
Fritz
Green
Green?
property. He owned that also. He was into, but he was a lord from London, England.
Well, I remember the Hoyts very well. I remember the old man.
Yeah,
I
you
remember
did.
Bill and Hilda. They were the son and daughter.
Yeah.
They went down to Florida. I guess they're dead now, probably. They moved down to Florida, and after that, I never saw them. But when they were living here, I used to go to... There was a pond back of the Press area in a hollow there for years. And Bill Hoyt used to come up there practically every afternoon. We used to skate there. He was older
Where
than I
was
was.
this, Bill?
Well, back of sort of back up Press there, you know, where the that little hollow is in there, where Pfeiffer's ice cream parlor was. Before them buildings there was a hollow, and the water used to run down this, that one, and it
Called the
froze
Glen.
over.
Oh,
and made
you're
a
talking
pond.
about here, the building here, Troy said. Right,
Yeah,
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 okay,
yeah.
in Village on Hawkins Avenue
Yeah.
here, like that. Right
Over
back
here?
of Hawkins Avenue, yeah, right
Oh,
down here
here.
with Troy's and
Yeah,
who else was there? Bruno, right?
yeah. You remember when Hoffman had the pool room in that hole there too?
Yeah.
Remember that those days? That goes back.
Who you say had it?
Hoffman. Bill and Fred Hoffman had a little pool room. The mother used to operate
Oh, I
it.
think that's right, yeah.
Yeah. That's history for
I
you.
thought you, I thought you talked about Hoffman too, down the Five Corners. He had a pool room.
Oh,
Did you
yeah.
know that or not?
Yeah, sure. What was another thing?
Where did he have?
Down in the Five Corners where
Where the
Yeah,
deli is?
the deli
Yeah.
is, right in the back there, or to the side of it. He had a pool room there like that.
Well, you know the original building there, the school building, was cut in half. You knew about that, I guess,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's where
And I
this
remember-
Why was it divided in half?
Two families, Watson and Watson. I guess they're
Watson.
related, and I guess they split it up.
Yeah.
Because
Related,
the ladies do not know anything about it.
The girls?
The girls know
don't.
nothing about it.
Oh, yeah, well, that's what
Violet-
happened.
What girls?
Violet Watson
She knows nothing
knows
about that?
nothing about the property division, the building division. I've asked her. She hasn't any idea that her father had anything to do with that building at all.
Well, I remember as a young boy going up there and watching them play basketball in the old school building, you know, before it was divided. That time was I guess Lake Grove Athletic Club operated. And I remember one night very distinctly when Charlie Fish fell over a red-hot, they were in them long stoves, you know.
Yeah.
He fell over that, playing basketball, and he fell over that. And oh, boy, did he get burned. Arthur Murray used to play there, Charlie Fish. Oh, geez, I
This is
Well, then I
basketball
can't
you're
think-
talking
huh?
about. Basketball you're talking about.
Yeah,
that they played
basketball,
there.
yeah, right, yeah.
Now that one building is still standing there, Bill, 100 feet away from the five corners.
Yes.
Right from the
Still
deli
there,
there.
it's the brown
Now,
house.
do you remember, I mean, I don't remember this when it was cut in half. Do you remember when it was cut in half or
Sure,
not?
sure.
About
Is that
when?
where that was?
Watson, each got a piece of it.
Okay, was that where it was setting or what? The whole building? The whole
The
school
whole building was setting right down where the little delicatessen is now. That's about where it was setting.
That's
So
where it
in,
was setting?
so in
and then
other
they
words, when they divided the house, they moved both pieces.
That's right. The deli was built later on. It's a separate unit entirely from the
Separate
house.
unit, yeah.
Yeah.
You say, I think there was a building back of that deli there, and Watson is 1,000 feet away from the five corners. You know Watson?
Sure.
Well,
no.
Watson that you saw?
Harry Watts and
Harry?
Watson, what was his name?
Bill, William
Yeah,
Watson.
yeah. And they were related too. They
They're
were
related. They're
brother-in-laws, I believe it was.
Right, yeah. Now, that other building where Watson lives today, that ain't part of the school.
I don't know where he lives now. I don't know where he lives.
Oh,
He was 1,000
they
feet.
live, yeah, I don't think it's 1,000 feet, it would be that much. They
What
live in
would
a
you
little
call it?
brown house. The girls live in a little brown house that
Oh,
looks like it's really
it's
about,
only 100, 200 feet then, isn't it?
You know where Beckner lived?
no, it's more
Who?
than that.
Beckner. Eimer and John Beckner on Smith's
Yeah,
Road?
yeah.
Right across the street. Right across the
Yeah,
street
it's-
they
it's
lived.
more
Well,
than
it's possible
200
it was moved
feet.
that far. I don't remember
But the
exactly.
no, it's a small,
I think this other building was
that's
tore down, Bill. I think that was where their pool room, where Hoffman had the pool room, in back of the deli,
been
only,
part of the deli,
only
but
20
part of
feet
the
away.
building.
Only 20 feet or 30 feet away from
Anyone
the
got any
deli.
pictures?
Not me. Hey, we didn't even have a camera in those days.
Box camera.
I had a
yeah.
box camera.
Right,
That's
a
the first
box
camera I had,
Can you
boy. That's the
imagine
first
that, a
one.
box
Yeah.
camera?
And
Right.
if you bent the spring or something, it didn't work.
A box camera. Can
Yeah.
you imagine that, Howard? That's what, yeah, it's going to take pictures. But I think that building where Watts is now, that building here, that's part of the school. And then he had another building which is torn down there where he
Well,
where
there
he had
is the
pool
brown
room.
house. There is the brown house that's about 250 feet away from the deli. That is definitely half of the school.
That's it.
Okay?
Yeah, that's where.
definitely enough.
That's
They
where
used
Harry
to,
Watts
they
lived.
used to fly the American flag from the second floor until one storm, and the tenants or the owners.
You know, I'll bet
have
you
never
who would
put
know
the
about
flag.
that? Joe Fish. You know, little
Oh,
guy.
Well,
definitely, yeah,
I gotta get
definitely.
him to. I got.
I was
talk
down to
him.
visit him the other day. I
Did
bet he
you?
would know, yeah.
Yeah, is he in good shape or what?
shape.
Well, his wife just come out of the hospital. She's,
Who, Ann?
yeah, she's not, well, she's all right, but she didn't move. I was down to 3 hours. She didn't move out of the chair.
Didn't move out the chair.
No, she had, I think, I don't know what, I won't say what it, I don't remember just what it was now, but
Okay.
anyhow, she don't feel that well.
Right, yeah.
Green,
Yeah, I used to
green
see him at
pavilion.
plays there. Him and,
Okay.
They don't well very much.
No, they used to though, 5 years ago
Yeah.
or something like
Okay.
that.
Paula Brown.
Bill will
Paula
tell you more about
Wikers
Paula Brown.
Brown.
Yeah,
This guy was a relative that just was in there.
Oh, really?
yeah,
Is that Bill?
yeah. But Jim Brown's his dad. Jim
Not,
Brown.
not Jim, the other guy that come in, ain't that?
Yeah, but Jim is his dad. He's the son of Jim Brown, right?
This other guy.
Okay, Paul, this was
No.
No.
good thing. But it's what God we're talking about.
Okay. Paula Brown.
You said Wikers there too.
Well, she's Paula Wikers Brown.
Yeah.
Okay. Real estate.
Well, she was here, I guess, when we came, and in the real estate business at that time.
I know she had a lot of signs up for in with real estate all around
She
Lake.
didn't. She never had much money, but she had a lot of property on, paper.
That's where he had.
Yeah.
That's what I say. She had a lot of signs up here
Oh,
with real
yeah.
estate
Oh,
here,
yeah.
all around Lake Ronkonkoma,
Yeah.
like that, especially all